Hey, it's syndicated radio talk show host, author, singer Al Cole, welcoming you to another edition of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. I come from CBS Radio. My shows are nationally syndicated, and I've helped pave the way to treating women, guys too, with the dignity that they deserve, and I do that through my show, People of Distinction. Aired on top networks, including, you could say, the toppest. Apple's iTunes radio network under their professional news talk division, airing CBS shows, Fox News, NPR, BBC, the whole kit and caboodle, and C-SPAN 2. Best talk in the country around the world on Apple's iTunes network. And coming from CBS Radio, which is major media, I'm also a major media consultant. I've helped hundreds to understand media, to move products and services that they have and become entrepreneurial. In other words, hey, make a profit from it. And some of my alliances are with people like Ariana Huffington, the Huffington Post founder, and many others that you can see at peopleofdistinction.org, my website. So visit there, and if you want to get in touch with me directly, well, here's my email address. It's alcoholic@gmail.com. You heard me right. That's ALCOLEHOLIC @gmail.com. And I really want to thank my CBS radio listeners for coming up with that handle. Alcoholic. Seems like from day one, my listeners have been saying, Al, we love what you're doing there, brother. In fact, we're hooked on it. We're alcoholics. And I'm a New York Times best-selling author with Chicken Soup for the Soul. Chicken Soup for the Soul is distributed by Simon & Schuster, CBS, so we keep it in the family that way. Coming up, a lady who's going to be talking a little bit about her family problems and also ways that she resolved those problems into love, devotion, and also hell. That's the name of her book, Love, Devotion, Hell. And her name is C.T. Andersen, and she's coming to my show from Parchment Global Publishing, one of the best publishers in the area for, hey, moving a book. So if you got a book you want to move it through parchmentglobalpublishing.com. And, of course, I'm supported by a lot of different businesses, nationally and internationally. Parchment is one of them. There are a lot more, too. And it's always on a pay basis. They bring me people on a pay basis, and they get a spotlight interview. So CT is going to be getting that, and you can overcome. Now, that's a big part of love, devotion, and hell. Overcoming even abuse, and even extreme abuse, and a number of abuse situations in your life. You can overcome if you have faith. Now, faith is something that we always think that we might have, but boy, it's easy to lose faith, too, when you're bombarded with hell. And CT is going to tell you how she dealt with that. And I think you're going to really get on board with a lot of the great advice that she can give you if you're going through some of that. And who isn't sometimes in their life? They're going through terrible situations. And how do these situations resolve themselves into love? Well, maybe the love was always there, but then it got disguised. It got pushed aside through abusive situations. And you have to remember some of the love that you were born with. Yeah, now that's the creative, beautiful, spiritual force that everybody has a sense of, something a little bit greater than who they are. And CT is going to be talking all about that too. CT Andersen, her book, Love, Devotion, Hell. And it's available on Amazon.com as well as Barnes & Noble. And we're going to welcome her on the show right now. CT, welcome to People of Distinction with Al Cole. How are you today?
Very good. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. And we're going to be talking it up about your book, Love, Devotion, Hell. And first thing that I want to find out, my listeners want to find out as well, how did you come to that conclusion to title your book, Love, Devotion, Hell? Tell us about even just the title of it.
Yes, well, it was rather simple, actually. I was talking to my Bible study teacher about naming it, and I go, well, it's my love and devotion to God that's really gotten me through the hell of my life. And he looked at me and he's like, that's the name of your book. I go, oh, love, devotion, hell. Perfect. And that's how, as easy as it came.
Yeah, we like that. Now, might have come easy, the title, but boy, the experiences behind that title, well, they did not come easy. And it's unfortunate that we have to go through abusive situations, negativity, adversity in our lives to finally get to the love and devotion that is granted to us at any point in our lives. So tell us a little bit about the hell. We'll start out with that because that was when you were maybe even just a child experiencing some abuse. Tell us a little bit about that, CT.
Well, yeah, but I want to take you further back. It started in the process of making me, which sounds kind of funny and everyone laughs, but my mother always told me in my birth story how they did everything they could to destroy me as a sperm. And she told me I was backwards and retarded. And then when she gave birth to me, the real me died in childbirth because I had the umbilical cord wrapped around my neck and I came out blue. And that's when the devil spawn entered my body. So from the moment I was born, I was the devil spawn. I was worthless. I was no good. I was retarded. I was backwards. And at the age of 3, I heard a voice in my head just tell me, whatever she says to you, don't worry, because I'm here for you and I love you and I'm going to get you through this.
How do you like that? Now, that's a new twist. I have not heard that one before. In the 2,000 interviews that I've done of people of distinction, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that they died, or at least that their parents or mother said, that they actually died in childbirth, and the devil took over the soul of that supposed new baby or whatever. But that's what you heard. And your mother just kept it up throughout your life, telling you that essentially you were no good?
Correct. And when I was older, after I gave birth to my first child, I was 25 or 26 when my father looked me dead in the eyes and told me I was a mistake.
Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of this goes back to their lives as well. If I can make a quick diversion here for my listeners' sake, because they've heard so much about child abuse from parents who were maybe abused themselves as kids. And in your case, it's extreme because it just doesn't seem like it ever ended. Was there abuse within your mother's life when she was a child and an adult, and also your father as well?
No, neither of them were abused. They're both single children. My mother is diagnosed paranoid schizophrenic. So I think it's just her way of showing her affection towards me. It's how I took it.
Affection? Okay. If you want to put it that way.
Well, yeah.
Strange sort of affection.
I understand that that's, a little hard to come from when it's your parent. But when she's the only one in your life and the only stable you have, besides yourself and trusting in yourself, that is the best I can get from our relationship. Is she chose to treat me the way she did. She put me in charge of my older brother and my younger sister at a very young age and just drilled in me to take care of them, make sure they're safe, make sure they get to school on time, make sure they got fed. I was the mother to my brother and sister my entire life. I knew nothing more but to give of myself to others. So when she'd ask me to do things, of course I do it for her because that's who she trained me to be at a very young age. So I just took it as, well, she can't accept me the way she accepts my brother and the way she accepts my sister, because he's older and he's the boy and she's younger and she's, her baby.
Yeah.
So I had to find a different way of accepting her cruel voice toward me as a way to cope. And that's why she always called me retarded and backwards and stupid, because as she's abusing me, I just looked at it as love from her.
Mm-hmm. Very gracious of you, and I think my listeners in some way can understand that. I can as well. And you had a guardian angel throughout all of this. You said at a very young age, an angel, I'm putting it my way, an angel, you might not have said angel, came to you and said that you are okay, that you are loved. And that was at did you say 3 years old or something when that happened?
Correct. And my, what you call angel, is God himself.
God himself. Now, how can you be sure of that?
Yes.
My listeners want me to ask that question.
No, and I understand, because it is very confusing. I would pray to him at night without knowing who he was, but I would pray to him to watch over me, protect me, keep me on his path, and to never falter. And so in the prayers, you're in dreamlike state, I would feel his love, his compassion, and him holding me, and I never let that go. And then when I read at Christian school how Moses was able to talk to God through the burning bush, it helped me realize, it is God, because who else would want to talk to me? Nobody on this planet talks to me, and everybody talks to me downly, but this one was with so much love and so much kindness, and just held on to my spirit and just never let me go.
Mm-hmm.
There's no one else it could have been.
Yeah. At that point, that spirit never left you, because did you always feel whole after that, even through the abuse? Or did the abuse sometimes weaken that effect of God within you?
No, it just made me stronger, because I would just turn to him when I was abused by my mother, when I was abused by her husbands, when I was starting to get abused by my ex. That's when the angels over there really stepped in and held me close and just, was always by my side. Mm-hmm. Because one time my ex did hit me hard enough to knock me out or kill me, because I did go into heaven, and I had all of them surrounding me, just telling me to breathe, breathe, breathe. And I didn't know I was laying on the floor, but I'm there and I'm looking at them, and they're just voices in this beautiful white light saying to breathe. And I'm like, I know I can breathe. Please stop telling me to breathe. And I looked down at my feet and I saw my ex as a shadow moving in and out of the light. And I go, that's what scares me. I need to know what he's going to do next, because he can kill me. You don't understand. And I heard one of the voices say to somebody in a distance, she's not listening to us, because they kept this up going and going. And I heard this voice that my spirit just jumped out of my body and said, oh, what? I'm not breathing? And that's when I took the breath. And I realized I was laying on the floor, because he had hit me so hard that he literally put me in heaven. So the voice I recognized, my soul knew it instantly, and that's when I came back to earth breathing.
Whoa. Hey, this is gripping stuff, people. And if you're gripped by it, you can order this book, Love, Devotion, Hell, by our special spotlight guest here today, C.T. Andersen. And it's available to you on Amazon and also Barnes & Noble. Now, let's get more into your book and turn a few more pages in it, Love, Devotion, Hell. So this went into your adult life, obviously. You were talking about, the person that you were with at that time. Obviously, you were an adult, and you're still being abused at that point, but then you're kind of born again. We've heard a lot about, and we've discussed it on my show, People of Distinction, after-death experiences and even death experiences where somebody will die or come close to death, and be transported to heaven, as you say, and that beautiful white light that overcomes them. And they're met by, some people have said God, others have said an angel, others have said Jesus. Uh, you're met by a holy individual or spirit at that particular point. And you might be asked the question, well, do you want to stay or do you want to go back? So many people will, of course, want to say, well, of course I want to stay because it's so beautiful here. And then maybe they might be confronted by, but there's somebody waiting for you if you go back. And many times it's a child, or it could be the mother, father, sister, brother, best friend who really needs that individual at that point. So when you either died or were near death and went to heaven, why did you return at that point, CT?
Because all the spirits that were over there, I'm going to tell you it's my family, because they're the ones who would be closest to me, who would surround me and tell me to breathe. Just breathe. That's all they kept saying. Breathe, breathe, breathe. All in unison. And there's thousands of them over there. I mean, there's no way for you to ever know how many people are over there. But you hear them all in unison, and they're all just telling you to breathe. And because I thought I was still alive, I didn't know I died. I'm like arguing with them. No, stop telling me I can breathe, because I know I can. That's something I always do. Protect me from him. He's the one who's hurting me. He's the one who's not the good person. And then when God tells me to breathe, and I breathe, from then that next moment when I went to bed that next night, I had a vision, and a vision telling me, do you trust me? And I'm like, of course, God, I trust you. That's a silly question. Don't even ask me that. And he puts me up next to this cliff, and he knows I'm scared to death of heights. And it goes down beyond wherever you can imagine. It just kept going. And it showed me from Indiana Jones the quest of the quill or the cup or whatever it was. And he's like, jump. And so I jump. And then I see this beam underneath my feet. And I'm thinking, well, that's cheating in my head. I'm arguing with God because that's me. So I ran off towards the right side. And this time there's no beam underneath me. I'm just walking in thin air. And so he's like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. And I slowly make my way back, like a child who's been scorned, to the beam. And I got this other thought in my head. Oh, well, wait, maybe it'll happen that side. Maybe if I run up to the left side. So I ran off to the left side, same thing. And God's like, are you done? I was like, yeah. He goes, because you trust me, I will give you wings, and you will soar. And I divorced my ex. About 6 months later, I got a letter in the mail inviting me to a Habitat for Humanity to see if I could qualify for a house. So as I'm sitting there and I'm listening to all the qualifications, I'm checking yes in every single box. I ran home that very night to my daughters and said, we have a house. And they looked at me and they go, Mom, you're crazy. And a year and a half later, we moved into our 2-story, 3-bedroom, 2-bath house.
Well, look at that. Wow. What a beautiful testimony to God. And all of this was made possible through your faith in God and your love and devotion for God. Is that right, CT?
Correct.
Look at that. And now we have just a few minutes left in this spotlight interview, and I want to talk a little bit about the future here, possibilities in your life. With Love, Devotion, and Hell, it's probably helping a lot of people who read it and helping them to cope with maybe abuse issues in their life and overcome in going to the Spirit, understanding God better. Where do you want to go from here with not only just your book, Love, Devotion, and Hell, but your life right now, CT? Possibilities in your directions. Tell my listeners, they're very interested in this, what are your future directions here in life?
Well, I love to be able to get out and speak to others who have
Mm-hmm.
been in my situation, especially domestic violence, because that's very hard to overcome. And people don't understand how hard it is. And I've been there. I know what you have to give up in order to get out. And, just be able to get out and speak to people and help them through the darkness, because I've been there.
Mm-hmm. I know. And I think we all have, to differing extents, the darkness, the light. And I'm going to make a reflection of my own on that too. And then I'll let you, in the last minute of the show, say whatever else you want to say about your book, Love, Devotion, and Hell. But before that, this goes out to you, my listening audience, right now. We've all been in the light, and we've all been in the darkness, and we've all been shades in between. The thing is remembering. Now, if we remember some of the cruelty, well, that's normal here on earth, and we can let that cruelty get into our soul to such an extent that we become cruel to others. However, if we remember the light and the beauty of that light that overcame us at a certain point, and that's really love, that beautiful love that we've ever experienced, where we would say to ourselves at that point, wow, this should last forever. This is life itself. This is the reason for my birth. If we remember that throughout our life as some sort of guiding force, now we really are coupled with God at that point. It's not very difficult to do. Really, all you have to do is every once in a while sit yourself down and remember some of the beautiful things about your life, even if it's overridden by 90% of the ugly things. But that 10%, boy, I'll tell you, that matters, because nothing is more powerful than love and devotion and faith to conquer hell. And that is what CT has told us here in this interview as well. And that is what we all know in our heart and our soul. So I would advise everybody here, when you pray, and everybody prays sometime for something, don't just pray for you and please God, help me out of this and I'll never do it again. And don't just pray for a loved one who might need that prayer, but also send it out to somebody that you might not know too well, who you figure, maybe this person can use that prayer. Think of somebody else, especially somebody that you don't know that well, and maybe even somebody that you don't like that much. And you're forcing yourself, but you're saying that prayer for that person. And you send it out through the spirit of somebody that you do love. And now you're connecting two people in love, in that beautiful spirit of God, because God is overseeing all of the prayers. And that prayer will come back to you too. It'll soften your heart. It'll get you back to that light area, the white light that CT was talking about earlier. And in that instant, you are experiencing the bliss and beauty of heaven and of God. We can all do that. And as we do that, if we serve others with that beautiful light of revelation at that point and realization, now we're really doing God's will. That's really what God wants for his family, his children, to share the love and the beautiful experiences of the light, as CT was talking about. And now we're going to give CT the last minute of the interview to just say whatever else she wants to say about her book, Love, Devotion, and Hell. So go for it, CT. The last minute is yours.
Okay, well, like I ended it in the book, I always tell people, when you're feeling depressed, when you're feeling lonely, take 5 minutes out of the day, look into the mirror, and just stand there looking into your eyes, because that makes you look into your soul. And it will tell you what you need to change, what you need to fix, how to be kinder. You just need to be able to be brave enough to look 5 minutes at yourself in the mirror. deep, hard into your soul. People will not be able to do this at first. It takes time. The first minute you're standing there looking at yourself, you may start to cry, and that's okay, because what you will learn is that you'll learn to see your soul, and you will see the brokenness in you, and you'll be able to fix that. So then when you're out in the public, you can help others without feeling guilty, without feeling shame, and without taking on the darkness, because you've cleansed yourself and you know how to get back to you. You are number one on this planet. God made us all for a reason, regardless of what our parents may say to us or whoever else is out there. Mine were my parents. It doesn't matter how they can mistreat you. Always love yourself.
Absolutely. And that is really the mission of people of distinction as well. Loving oneself as that spawning board to loving others. That's how we talk on People of Distinction with Al Cole, and especially when C.T. Andersen is saying the same thing on People of Distinction. And order her book one more time, Love, Devotion, Hell, at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And she was brought to us by Parchment Global Publishing. If you got a book you want to move it with Parchment. ParchmentGlobalPublishing.com. Thank you so much, CT, for being my special guest here today on People of Distinction with Al Cole. And we wish you all the best with your book and with your life directions. Thank you, CT, very, very much.
I loved it. Like I said, I picked you for a reason.
Oh, okay. All right, very good. Yes, I give the best interviews.
You talk about the one thing that means the most to me, and that's loving oneself.
Oh, absolutely.
And thank you. God bless you all.